Hey everyone, welcome to a deep dive that might it might reshape how you think about success and, fulfillment in life. And we are diving into, we've got excerpts from Life is What You Make It, written by Peter Buffett. And yeah, that is that Buffett.
It's so easy to just automatically assume that this is going to be another one of those, secrets of the wealthy kind of narratives. But what's really striking is how much Buffett actually kind of pushes back against those assumptions, especially like the ones we all have about wealth and happiness.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little. So what is he saying about inheriting money, right? Because I think it's safe to say most of us, we wouldn't exactly say no to a trust fund.
Right, of course. But Buffett, he argues that it's, it could be a real double-edged sword, that kind of thing. He even goes so far as to call inherited wealth like a silver dagger.
Oh, silver dagger.
Yeah, like it can rob you of that hunger to create your own path, to feel that satisfaction of building something yourself from the ground up.
He is really flipping the script on that whole born with the silver spoon idea. Doesn't he share a story about his own upbringing and his experience with this?
He does, yeah. His father, Warren Buffett, he had this firm belief that passing down a massive amount of wealth, it could actually stifle ambition. Mm. So instead of those trust funds we all think about, Peter and his siblings, they actually each got a pretty modest sum when they turned 19, with this understanding that there wouldn't be this huge inheritance coming down the line later.
Wow, talk about a different perspective, a different approach to family wealth, right? It makes you wonder if having tons of money, if that's not the magic ticket, what does Buffett see as the real privilege here?
Options.
Options.
Having options. And I don't just mean, being able to buy whatever you want. He's talking about a much broader sense of agency, that freedom to actually make choices about how you live your life, what you go after, who you even become. And that, he says, that's true privilege.
So it's less about those material possessions and more about having that freedom to make your own path.
Yeah. Exactly. And he contrasts this with situations, right, where people have very limited options because of different circumstances, right? Socioeconomic background, societal pressures, family expectations, all of that. He even gives this example of a classmate he had at Stanford. I mean, we're talking, comes from an incredibly wealthy family. But even she felt trapped by this expectation that she had to follow this very traditional career path, even though it wasn't what she was passionate about.
Wow.
It illustrates how even within, what we would consider privilege, that lack of options, it can be a real roadblock to actually feeling fulfilled.
That's fascinating. So even with financial resources, these external pressures, or even those pressures we internalize ourselves, it can really limit our choices. And in the end, hinder our ability to really create a life that feels like it's truly ours, that's fulfilling.
You got it. And this is really where Buffett's whole idea about options, it gets even more interesting, He's saying that recognizing those pressures, whether they're coming from society, family, even those beliefs that we put on ourselves, recognizing those is it's key to breaking free and designing a life that's authentically yours.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how often do we just accept these paths that are already laid out for us, these expectations from society or wherever, without even really stopping to ask ourselves, do these actually fit with who I am?
Right. And that connects with one of Buffett's most interesting ideas in the book, which is that, that saying time is money. Mm-hmm. He kind of flips that on his head a little bit and says, no, time. He says time is actually the most valuable resource we have, especially when it comes to, figuring out what we're really passionate about and what makes us tick.
And he really put his money where his mouth is on that one, right?
Right.
Didn't he actually use his inheritance to kind of buy himself time?
He did, yeah. He's very open about that he used that inheritance to go after his passion for music, even though, it might have meant that he wouldn't have as much financial success, if he'd gone down a more traditional career path.
Yeah.
But his point is that investment he made in himself and self-discovery and giving himself the space to explore, he says that was way more valuable than any kind of immediate, financial reward.
That's a really powerful example of really aligning your actions with your values. But I think, for a lot of people, myself included sometimes, this whole just follow your passion thing, it can feel, a little simplistic, a little cliche.
Yeah.
It's not always that easy to figure out what your passions are, let alone turn them into, a life that you actually want, a fulfilling life. Yeah, and he gets that. It's not like he's saying there's this magic formula where, find your passion and poof, everything falls into place. He's very clear that finding your path, it takes work, and more importantly, it takes commitment. And he's talking about like real deep, unwavering commitment, the kind that almost forces you to take action, and open up these doors you didn't even know were there. He quotes Goethe at one point saying, "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too." Something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's about that leap of faith, right? That willingness to fully commit, even if you don't necessarily see the whole path ahead of you clearly yet. It reminds me of that other saying, the universe rewards bold action. Exactly. And this commitment he's talking about, it's not just about, going after your own dreams either. Mm-hmm. He ties it into this bigger idea of purpose,
Yeah.
like giving back to the world around you.
So he's not just talking about like writing a check, right? It's bigger than that. It's more about like really making a difference somehow, contributing in a way that actually feels meaningful to you.
Yeah, you got it. He tells this story about a journalist friend of his who got this interview with, get this, former President Jimmy Carter. But here's the catch. The only way they could get this interview was if they agreed to spend the day working alongside Jimmy and Rosalind Carter for Habitat for Humanity. Mm-hmm. And so, this journalist is thinking, okay, whatever, it'll be a photo op. I'll put in a few token hours. Next thing you know, they're right there next to the Carters, sweating in the heat, fully committed. Yeah. They're in it.
That's a powerful image, right? Of really walking the walk, not just talking about it.
Totally. For Buffett, it's not enough to just be like passively supportive of something. It's about, like you said, getting your hands dirty, showing up authentically, and making sure that your actions are actually lining up with what you say you value.
Mm-hmm. It makes you realize that sense of fulfillment, a lot of times it does come from connecting with something larger than ourselves. It's about finding that sweet spot where your passions and your talents, they kind of intersect with a genuine need in the world. But how does it all connect back to how he views success? Because it feels like he's kind of challenging that traditional definition we all hear about, the one that revolves around money and status. So if we're not like measuring success by, how much money we have or our status, what does it look like? Like, according to Buffett, what is success?
Well, he tells this funny story about being at a party.
Right.
And somebody there, they find out he's a writer, and their immediate response is just successful. Well, just like that. And it highlights how often we define achievement, by these external things. Like, are other people impressed with us instead of like, are we fulfilled?
It's so true. We get caught up in these like external markers of success, the fancy job title, the big house, whatever. And we don't even stop to think like, wait, are these even things that matter to me?
Totally. And Buffett's like, come on, let's flip this script here. He's saying that real success, it's deeply personal. It means figuring out what your values are, what you want to achieve, and not just following some predetermined path that society lays out for us.
So it's about like breaking free from that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing and really tuning into your own internal compass. But like, how do we do that? How do you drown out all the noise and figure out what really matters to you?
It's a journey, right? It's not like you just wake up one day and boom.
Mm-hmm.
But Buffett, he suggests that a good place to start is to really try to understand those potential downsides of prosperity. And he's specifically talking about people who haven't really faced a lot of hardship in their life.
That's interesting, because isn't prosperity, like, isn't that kind of what we're all striving for?
Yeah, for sure. But what he's saying is that, excessive wealth, especially if you inherit it, it can create this sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
And it can make it harder to really appreciate things like working hard, being resilient, and just that feeling of earning your own way.
He talks about this in the context of parenting too, right? Like how even parents who have the best intentions, sometimes they accidentally pass this mindset down to their kids.
Absolutely, yeah. He says that, by trying to protect kids from challenges or by teaching them that financial security equals happiness, we might be preventing them from discovering their own, drive and resilience and all that. And he gives this example of this father who's like really frustrated because it seems like his son's only ambition is to make enough money to like maintain this certain lifestyle. instead of like pursuing his passions or trying to contribute something meaningful.
Right. It's a good reminder that, true fulfillment, a lot of times it comes from the striving, from the learning, from growing through challenges. It's about discovering your own strength and resilience along the way.
Exactly, yeah. And besides, recognizing those potential downsides of affluence, Buffett also really emphasizes self-reflection. Like he wants us to take a hard look at our own biases about, what makes a good life or a successful life. And realizing that those beliefs we have, they often come from, our upbringing, our culture, and all these messages we've absorbed throughout our lives.
So it's about questioning everything, even the things we think we know for sure, and asking, like, what do I really value? What would make me feel fulfilled, even if it's not what society says I should want?
Yeah, exactly. He really believes that each of us, we have this, like, unique combination of talents and passions and experiences, right? And that true fulfillment. Like that really deep sense of purpose. It comes from figuring out how to make your life match up with that unique blueprint that you have.
Yeah.
He compares it to like finding the right key to unlock a treasure chest.
Oh, I like that. So the key is like your individuality, and then the treasure is your own definition of success.
That's it. It's a good reminder that you don't have to fit into some like pre-made mold of what achievement's supposed to look like.
I love that.
Yeah, it's about really owning who you are, flaws and all that, and finding your own way to contribute to the world, and defining success on your own terms.
And that kind of brings us to the heart of what Buffett really wants us to take away from all of this, right? Like he leaves us with this question.
Yeah.
In a world that's dealing with, economic uncertainty and where the definition of success is constantly changing, how can you build a life that's fulfilling, that lines up with your values, uses your own unique strengths, and allows you to really make a difference in the world? It's a powerful question.
It is.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the wisdom of Peter Buffett. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep making your life what you want it to be.